I'm Jasper, I'm the Banksy specialist here at My Art Broker. We're in quite an interesting place in the Banksy market. I think to really have a good understanding of this year we've had, we need to look back at the previous years. So historically, the Banksy market has increased in value very gradually, anywhere from sort of 8 to 10% year on year. Then what happened in 2020, of course, the pandemic came along and there was a significant increase in demand from collectors, which naturally increased the value. Works in the unsigned market tripled in value on average. And we also saw that within works in the signed market. In 2024, it's probably been a year about consolidation. So essentially we've seen prices gradually come down. It wasn't quite as dramatic as the increase, but there's quite a few factors that have caused this. Essentially, there was a massive feeling that the Banksy market was driven by hype, was also driven by flippers, so people looking to buy as cheaply as possible and flip for a profit, and also driven by the media. Suddenly people started to pay attention because Banksys were selling so well at auction and privately, and then everybody wanted to sell their pieces. So naturally the market became quite saturated. Auctions began to have Banksy-only auctions, which first began in 2016 by Forum Auctions. Initially, these were very successful, but subsequently, when the larger auction houses, Christie's and Sotheby's, started to adopt this style, it gave the idea that there was huge abundance of Banksys, which really wasn't the case. And so since then, the market has begun to correct, prices have come down. So I think 2024 presents itself as a marketplace, particularly Banksy, a marketplace with huge opportunities to buy at an accessible level that we didn't think was possible during the pandemic and certainly at the peak of the market. So it's really exciting to be looking at how the market's consolidated and where the sort of entry-level price now is. The clients that are buying Banksy are really looking at this for value. Clients are coming into the market because perhaps they've tracked the market for several years, so since probably 2015, they've seen how steady the market can be under normal market conditions. And I think they see huge opportunity because the market has been at such a high level. They now see a much easier entry access points. Previously, you wouldn't be able to get near a signed Banksy print for anything less than £40,000, whereas now we're seeing signed works sell for as little as sort of £20,000, both privately and at auction. So it's really the opportune buyers, a lot of new clients as well, that also don't realise how they can access Banksys in both unsigned and signed ways. And really they're looking for value, not just from a price perspective, but they're also looking at works that the market has never seen. So rare hand-finished pieces, rare colour waves, particularly if we're looking at the Choose Your Weapon series, and also the signature, the signed girl with balloons, the unsigned girl with balloons, which are Banksy's sort of bread and butter. It's the most iconic image. So when we have opportunities on these pieces, particularly in the market, where the market prices are now, these are the types of buyers that are picking up these sort of rare pieces. So the Girl with Bloom was a screen print that was done by Banksy in 2004. Banksy did this in both a signed variation from an edition of 150 and also an unsigned variation where there were 600 works. Now, I think I've mentioned before that this is Banksy's most iconic artwork, and that permeates into collectors that don't even collect Banksy works. They know about this image. The signed Girl with Balloon, every time that has appeared at auction, it's sold very, very well. We've also seen huge amounts of more demand for this work. That's something it's the most in-demand work in our network in both the signed and unsigned variation. It's also something that resonates with people. In 2003, this work first appeared down in the South Bank and was also later voted sort of Britain's most popular image. So with the Girl with Balloon, as well as in sort of other portfolios of works done by Banksy, Banksy has sort of changed the colour waves, and these are much rarer pieces. These are often from much smaller edition sizes. Sometimes they can be hand finished, and these are works that just don't appear on the market. And these are pieces that don't appear because they're in collections that maybe will never sell. And a lot of these works are actually gifted to those in the close circle of Banksy. And so naturally, when you get gifted something, it's not something that you're going to sell. And often these works, when they do come to auction or if they do go to a private sale, which is more often the case, they create record-breaking sales. So for example, in the most recent years, we saw Banksy's Girl gold go with balloon, which sold for 1.2 million at one of the major auction houses. So these are record-breaking sales. And again, works like Nola, which is one of Banksy's most popular works. It's very popular amongst American collectors, given the sort of affinity of Nola, etc. And we've seen only a very small handful of these works come through, the very rare sort of colour waves, the artist proofs, and these are works that are just really exciting because they, like I say, they just don't come for sale. And these are works that serious collectors and new collectors are really looking to buy, particularly whilst the market's quite deflated. It's difficult, I think, dealing on sort of both sides. I'm speaking to clients that are sort of looking for a fast sale. They know that the market's deflated, but in the same sentence, it's difficult to predict what the market's going to do. We can take a look at sort of the economic factors at play currently. Personally, I'm seeing a lot of sort of green shoots in the Banksy market, given sort of everything that's going on, and also how well Banksy as an asset performs during times of crisis. So, for example, COVID, when a lot of other assets weren't performing well, art and collectibles, in particular Banksy's, tripled in value during that period. So for anyone looking to diversify their portfolio, art and particular Banksy does provide a really nice assurance to have in your sort of collection and wider investment portfolio. In terms of selling, again, it's difficult to really ascertain which direction the Banksy market is moving. We have seen that the Banksy market has, for the last 18 months, been reconsolidating and depreciating in value. So it's always a case of timing it as well as you possibly can. But generally, there are huge opportunities given where the market has been and where the market is currently. It really depends on how long you're looking to hold the artwork for. The market might be trading sideways for the next 6 months to a year, and sort of at what sort of level you're looking to come into the market as well. I mean, there was a really interesting print release in 2019, the gross domestic product, which essentially Banksy created a false storefront and asked people to fill out a questionnaire as to give them their reasons as to why they are buying these artworks. And essentially this was a way of Banksy saying, I don't really like this idea that people are sort of buying my artworks and flipping them on. So it was a way of sort of Banksy taking a little bit more control of the situation, whilst also having a bit of a joke as well. I think he famously said, well, if people are going to buy my work and resell it, at least I want to make sure I know for whatever reason they are doing that. So I think as Banksy is an artist who's still a living artist, there is relatively few artworks still out there on the market. And you also have to remember an awful lot of these, when they were picked up for 20, 50, 100 pounds back in the day, a lot of these were just lost or hung up in student halls. And so in terms of the circulation of the actual amount of artworks out there that have pest control, are in good enough condition to be sold, the market is much smaller than what's perceived, i.e. what's actually been published. And so I think that's really interesting for people coming into the space is, you look at other blue chip artists, there's a lot more content, there's a lot more artwork. David Hockney has over 500 artworks that you can buy from, whereas Banksy's much, much smaller. And so that provides opportunity. And also the fact that Banksy's still in the limelight, he's still producing works, he's still capturing the nation's attention when he's releasing and declaring new artworks through Instagram. And so I think that creates a sort of buzz and excitement, and we see huge amounts of demand as a result of any sort of public stunt that Banksy's pulled or new artwork that he's released in the streets.